positive. So I decided to jump all in. Then they moved me, changed my grade level, da da da. So I'm starting kind of from scratch this year. So I'm kind of semi-flipping. I flip as much as I can, and when I and they've actually told me, well, why don't you put this on a video? Why are you making us sit here and listen to you? So they like not having to take notes in class and wait for everybody to write everything down and all that sort of thing. And they like doing all the activities because I've been able to include, just a lot more hands-on either activities or labs than I ever could if I had to, teach the other way. So it's been pretty positive.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Oh, there's Dan. So, Liza, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, are you pretty new into flipping? Have you just started, or?
I've been experimenting with it with my honors chem class. It's the beginning of the year. We're on block schedules, so we've always been able to do lots of activities, but the notes were kind of the last thing to go. So I've been recording the notes, and the kids have been doing those at home, which gives us a lot more time to work in class and really work with them individually. So it's going pretty well. They do great with it.
Oh, great. Okay.
Does everybody use Camtasia or Jing, or what do you guys use to record?
I use Camtasia. Go ahead, Liza.
Oh, go ahead. I've been using Doceri with iMovie, but I think I'm ready to move on to Camtasia. So that's going to be my summer project, is to start working on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good summer project.
I used the free trial for as long as I could. It was really good. Eventually, finally purchased it, but I milked that 30 days for all it was worth.
I've purchased 2 versions myself. I have one on my PC and one on my Mac, so.
Yeah, it's so worth it.
It is.
Absolutely.
I was surprised to hear that the Mac version is the only one currently that has green screen capability. The word from TechSmith is that the PC version is getting it soon, but I didn't know if anybody had any experience working with green screen.
I haven't done any yet. As far as I'm concerned, though, I think the effects and editing seem to work a little better for me in the PC version than they do in the Mac version.
Okay.
My file sizes also tend to be a lot bigger in the Mac version than they are in the PC version.
I'm still actually just using the screen capture on my Promethean board, and I have a little cordless lavalier type microphone that I just wear while I'm at the board and record the video that way.
Have any of you guys worked with the quizzing option? Those that are using Camtasia? Because I haven't really gotten into that yet, but I know people who love it.
I haven't done much yet because we're an iPad school, and since a lot of the quizzing tends to rely on Flash, until I talked to TechSmith last week and they told me there was a way around it, I haven't done much with it yet.
Well, I use a combination of Camtasia and iMovie. I kind of sometimes hybrid my stuff for the. I don't like the kids don't really like to see me, and so, well, I teach forensic science, general chemistry. You all sound like you teach honors kids, and then I teach credit recovery. And in the credit recovery class, it's E2020, so they see this little face all the time, and a lot of kids will put a sticky note up across the face.
Will they really? That's hysterical.
They don't, and I've talked to them, and trying to figure this out, and they said, why do we need to see you? We can hear you. And it's just distracting to them, so.
See, my kids actually had the opposite effect. They would rather that my face was there. Probably because they have a lot of fun making memes of pausing the video and whatever awkward position my face is in, they caption it and do some fun stuff with it.
Well, see, that's how you can avoid it. Just don't put your face up there.
See, I don't like the disembodied voice thing. It's one of the things that I've never liked about any of Khan's videos. Is I don't like the just talking. I like my face there, I guess. Maybe I just like my face. I don't know. As you can see, it's not a lot to look at, but
Well, your hair looks really good.
hey, it's perfect.
I just want to let you know. Mine took a really long time, but I can see you've really spent some time. So, you know.
Yes.
I've middle schoolers, maybe it's variety, I don't know, but I've done the paper slide videos just with a flip cam, the original flip cam set, pointed down at the paper, and so they just see my hands flying by, which for some reason they really like. I don't know. Anyways, and then I do the screencasts, and I did a couple picture-in-picture. My cat made an appearance in one. Which they were very concerned. They commented that maybe I threw the cat across the kitchen, and I didn't, but apparently things look dramatic on video, more dramatic than they actually are in real life. Anyway, so it just seems like the variety is really good for them, that it's not always the exact same thing going on. So
I think for me, I know that you said a little bit of the moving the pages and stuff. For me, I talk a lot with my hands, and so I think they actually like that I'm making motions, I'm doing stuff as I'm talking. Now, of course, I'm just down in the corner, and there's more stuff going on the screen, but I just think that helps. And I think, for me at least, I feel like it connects them a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues I have is I teach general chemistry, and what we call that is the chemistry to complete state requirements for graduation. I teach a lot of at-risk special ed kids, ELLs, and they really can't handle over 3 minutes of video.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're the ones that say that the face would distract them.
Well, I think this is a case where you know your kids and you do what is necessary for your kids. You don't do it just because this is the way you want to do it, but this is what the kids need, this is what they want, and so this is what I'm providing for them. I think that's absolutely the right way to go, David.
Mm-hmm. And that's the cool thing to me about flipping the flip class idea, is that you personalize it for your class. And I know we hear the phrase all the time, it's not about the videos and that sort of thing, but the videos, for me at least, are what allow me to free up the class time to do everything else that I want to do with my face-to-face time. And because you can personalize it, rather than just having them watch a Khan video or somebody else's video, if you're doing them yourself, then you've made them the way your class wants them. So I like that aspect of it.
Has anybody let their students make videos, and how's that turned out?
Yes.
I didn't.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
I didn't have them make a flip video. They made videos. We just got done with our drug unit. They had to do a 90-second video on a specific drug.
There were no visuals, I hope.
Yeah.
And then they had to do a PSA on against drug use. And one of my best ones I can't make public because it has a foster child in it. I can't get permission to make it public. And the sad thing is I'm working on lesson plans tonight because we're in the middle of our explosives and terrorism unit in forensic science. So
I want to take your class, drugs,
yeah,
explosives.
That sounds cool.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, you have to talk about today's aftermath, so sure.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, man.
Wow.
What insane. I have, being from there, from just north of there, but, I have a bunch of people I know running today, and it was crazy because I'm trying to find out if everybody's good, everybody's safe, and fortunately everybody was, but man, what an event.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
I did a project that it's sort of wrapping up right now. It's I was sort of challenged on Twitter to let the kids make the videos instead of having to listen to their boring old teacher do screencasts all the time. So with the this is middle school science, so 8th grade. for physical chemical properties and physical chemical reactions. They did, real visual topics. So they did videos to actually teach somebody the, what their property was, and to show an example of the property, and then to show an example of using that property to identify a material. So those are kind of the 3 criteria. And
Okay,
I found.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
Well, I got her.
Yeah. Hi, Katie.
Oh, look, and a face.
Yeah.
So, and then I was lucky enough to find people on Twitter, classes on Twitter, to join a group, an Edmodo group. So the other classes in 3 different states are evaluating the videos for the kids.
Oh, very neat. Way cool.
And they're doing that on a Google form. So it's turned out really well. The technology was BYOD, though. So there was a really steep learning curve in getting those videos uploaded through all of the blocks that our district kept throwing in place, but it eventually worked.
Oh, great. Good. Now we're going to be trying out some student videos pretty shortly where an old, like a activity, a project we used to do that were done as presentations, and since flipping, one of the students raises their hand and goes, hey, how about if we do them as videos? And I was like, I love it. And so they were like super excited to like go through this, and instead of doing kind of the standard, oh, we're going to do a PowerPoint presentation, they're like all super stoked to go and make videos and actually present it that way. So it was pretty exciting. And then they were like, felt all like, one of them was like, hey, I just came up with that idea, and they were all excited. So it was cool. It was really cool. So we'll see how that flies when we get back. So
Well, that's great. I mean, I've had the students' videos that my kids have made have been just edu-creations, whether they were doing problem solving or they just did the Ripple Tank Lab by taking photos of that instead of having to do hand sketches. And then they did do a electricity and magnetism demo that they use Explain Everything for. But we're not one-to-one yet. So it was a challenge for me to get kids to bring in their own iPads.
I'll tell you, anything you can get them to do with a phone, they can do.
Right.
We do a ton of make their own videos. In fact, I think in my AP Environmental Science class, I almost said my APES class, but not everybody knows what that means. In my AP Environmental, we do a lot of the case studies that way. So a lot of my videos or my lectures will be, the sort of the basics of, what the terminology and all of those things are. And then for their individual case studies, I'll have them in groups, and they'll make videos or they'll present, and I'll record them in Camtasia as they're presenting their PowerPoints or whatever that they've put them in, probably keynotes considering our school. And I find that works really well. And the beauty there is the last time they did it, I just recorded everything in Camtasia, so now I've got a 20-minute video that has all the case studies for that chapter in it. Not that they have to watch it because they were in class for it, but now it's there for the end of the year when they want to review for the test.
Yeah, I did some videos with the kids when we had extra time, when they finished up, and asked them to do a demo for momentum. I handed them 2 bowling balls and asked them to do a elastic collision, and then challenged them to do an inelastic collision. And that was fun for them because they had to just think through it and come up with it themselves.
And were they pretty receptive, or did you meet up with some sort of hesitation on having to think for yourself a little bit there?
These guys loved it. I mean, it was just really open-ended. I didn't give them any expectations. And for the end of the year project, we've done physics in the real world. What I'm hoping to do is leave it more like you can do physics in the real world, or a video word problem, or those lessons you had to live through, make a better one for me. See what happened.
Yeah. No,
Just show them old film strips.
Oh, yeah.
And have them improve on those.
Yeah.
Inspiration.
Oh, man. So, very cool. Oh, good. Has anybody seen any? Oh, let's see. Pop up on Twitter or anything,
I can't watch Twitter and change the pictures at the same time. I'm not that fast.
I'm not that cool either, so I was just going to say, but between the snafu and everything, so, well, cool. So.
Well, I wanted to share, and I didn't know if anybody else would have had a chance to do this. These past couple of days, we were doing a inquiry-based lab, and you know, of course, in the past, we've done labs with everybody gets in and does a lab. Well, this time when I assigned roles, and I had basically the students were doing a redox reaction in which they were obtaining copper from a solution. And we went through, I had the students pick their own groups, and basically we had 2 project managers. We had probably 6 or 7 students act as chemists, 4 or 5 act as data collectors, a few putting a paper presentation together, and then some doing a keynote presentation. And I didn't know if anybody else had opportunities to do that. My goal in this case was more of a 21st century learning and real-world application rather than everybody do the lab. They still did the worksheet and completed the exercises associated with the lab, but not everybody touched chemicals. Some people did paper, some people did keynote, and it was really interesting to watch these past few days the lack of communication that occurred. I saw the chemist do the chemistry and pass it on to the data collectors, and the data collectors get the data and pass it on, and then once they did that, they passed it on to their presenters. It was kind of like, we're done. We don't have anything else to do. And then it was interesting with her because the keynote presenters never paid attention to what the chemistry students, you know, or what were doing there in class to try to figure out what was going on to understand it. So the collaboration issue with her was really interesting with her, and it really led into a good discussion. I don't know if anybody else would have had a chance to, you know, kind of like the Celebrity Apprentice with the project manager and just the students taking different roles in the classroom.
I've definitely had that on a few occasions where I've assigned roles like that. They get locked in their head that they think, hey, I've got this role and that's all I'm responsible for. It's not, you know, I coached basketball for a while, and so, you know, yes, you're the point guard, so you're supposed to facilitate the ball, but that also means that you still have to shoot and you still have to play defense and you still have to do all of the team things at the same time as you have a main role. And I think that that's an important thing. As you said, that's an important thing for them to learn, that lesson of, yes, you have a job, but within that job, you're still part of a team that has a greater job also. And that you all
I love
have
that
to
analogy.
work
I think
together.
I'll use that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I tried something similar last year, early in the year, and mine ended up being kind of a disaster. It was kind of like what you said, where each group had their own role, but as soon as they were done, they passed it off, and then they thought they were totally finished, and there wasn't anything else for them to do. And I think part of maybe the issue was I did it too early in the year before we kind of built that classroom community. But also, it was like you said, where the tech people didn't really have anything to do until somebody else got finished with it, and it seemed like there was a lot of people standing around and not a lot of communication as they passed things from one group to the other. So I wasn't really sure how to fix that and try it again.
I'll let you know how I make out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, Doug? I have a question. Did each student get their own grade or their component? Was there a group component grade?
There is a group component, and that's probably the smallest of all the grades. Mostly it's participation in terms of the chemist doing the chemistry job, the data collector. And again, I was really looking forward to that communication between groups, which is one of the big issues that I did not see. But again, majority of the grade will probably come from the handout. And again, this was just at the end of the assessment type activity, and it was my chance, honestly, to really play and to show them another example of the reaction. I got observed today by my assistant principal, and again, I really wasn't afraid to try this, whether it was a fail. And again, some of the students were, negative about it, and definitely offered me many suggestions. Now, other classes were very supportive of it, and there was good communication, and it all related back to the project manager getting the people in charge and moving the students along, and one of the chemists going over and talking to the data collector talking to the people presenting and saying, well, this is how we did this, and this is what we did. So it was interesting, but I love the analogy of the basketball. And even though you're a team player in this case, whatever, even though you're a point guard, I like that. So I'm going to use that, and I'll probably end up trying it again. We'll see. We've got a murder mystery lab order coming up in the future, so we'll see how it goes.
I think
Did you say you assigned the roles, or did you let the kids pick?
I let the students decide what they want to do.
Natural leaders kind of.
And it's interesting because I had a few students that were going to be absent, and so they immediately they got the role of the report presenter. So they're putting the report together once the data was collected. So it kind of worked out that they didn't have to be in the lab and do the chemistry. The other students could do that right away and then pass that information on to them.
Did the passing involve any sort of where the person had to really talk to them, explain what they had found, versus just saying here's what I got? I wonder if that would improve that a little bit. If
Absolutely, and that's what I witnessed. I witnessed this is what I got from some groups, while other groups, the data collectors would sit down and say, okay, this is how we got this data. This is how we got these numbers. This is what we did. This is what we got. And then the students were going through doing that.
Have you had a debrief as a class, kind of like the boardroom scene in The Apprentice?
That will be
kind of get to talk it out?
That will be tomorrow, and there will be some questions that are going to go up, kind of like survey, that I'm going to use through Moodle and allow the students to comment and provide feedback.
Awesome.
I actually have a question about that. Has anyone done a flipped class assignment pre-lab instead of just the content, kind of doing a pre-lab as a flipped class?
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I previewed a lab with video and asked questions. So students were coming in, they were familiar with, it was a lengthy setup. They were familiar with equipment, they were familiar with setup. But yes, I've done pre-lab with video.
I think pre and post can be done pretty well too. I've had some prompting explanatory stuff afterwards, especially if we ran out of time, which I know that never happens for any of us in a lab. But if you're running short of time, but you still want to make sure, if you don't get the point across to them that day while they had their hands on it, then it's probably lost. Like in my case, we're on alternate day block, so I don't see them again for 2 days. So I kind of have to get that stuff out there to them pretty quick.
Oh, I like that idea.
The turnaround on that is, for me right now, would be a huge hurdle. It takes me so long to put a video together. I don't know. I find myself uploading at midnight and going to bed.
You just have to lower your standards. That's all.
I don't know.
See, your problem is you have the hair prep time. See, for me,
I do. That's pretty time consuming. It really is.
Yeah. Unless I've actually filmed at midnight. Not the best idea either. No. The kids were like, they were like, "What was wrong with you in that last one?" I'm like, "Do I tell them?"
I thought I was the only one that was up at school at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night talking to a wall by myself and trying to be excited about my content.
Exactly.
That's right.
I usually have my cat nearby, so I can at least have some sort of audience a little bit,
Yeah, my cat makes an appearance. At least the two picture-in-picture ones that I did, only two. Where the cat was walking around doing whatever, so the students were privileged to see her.
Yeah, I actually made that one of my whisk questions. I take from Crystal Kirsch's whisk idea, and so I had that thrown in as sort of the last question as to the color of my cat to see if they were actually paying somewhat of attention. So yeah, I throw in kind of funky ones like that, but so they have fun. They love the cat. So.
Does everyone do something that holds the kids accountable for watching to the end and responding in some way, or is it videos that you can watch the content, or you can get the content some other way? You don't really care if they watch.
Well,
how do you guys handle that?
I don't do my own videos yet. That's maybe a summer project, like other people have said. So the videos I've chosen, I'm sure to make. In the questions they have to answer, there's the time on the video when that question is going to be answered. So it'll say, the question then, 1:45. So if a video is too long and I don't want them to watch 10 or 12 minutes, that really cuts the viewing time down. Plus, if a kid missed it, they can go back to right at that time. And so I just check those questions as homework. I just try to make it easy.
I rely pretty heavily on Google Forms. I usually make some kind of a reflection where they have to answer about 3 open-ended questions. Just to, it does a couple of things. It makes sure that they've watched the video, and hopefully they extract the key points out of the video as they do the reflection. So, and then also I can sit at the house and pull up the spreadsheet of their responses, and I have an idea of who watched it, when they watched it, and before I go to class the next day, I have some idea of what their thought processes were.
Yeah, I do the same. Yeah.
And that really helps with the differentiation once you get into class.
Exactly.
Very much. You know what the questions are, or where kids understood a little bit better. One, you know what you're walking into. If only 2 of them actually did it that night, you know how you're going to prepare for that. So it takes a little bit of that guesswork walking into class a little bit more. Which has been nice, and the kids kind of have had a little bit of fun with the timestamp. They kind of do some of them I think are trying to see how late they can actually do it, where I'll notice, or how, if they're the first one to get it in. So they definitely have played a little bit with it on that end. But
Lindsay, how are they turning things in?
Primarily through the Google Forms is how I check that in terms of the video themselves, and I'm making my own. I guess I'm just that hammy enough where I'd rather have them hear it from me. So that's been sort of a labor of love over the last year and kind of building that. But I've loved that piece of it, because between that and the ability to kind of pool together and know who's done it and who hasn't has been majorly helpful. And they're doing it more than the other stuff I used to assign. That's been kind of the biggest piece is, the amount of homework completion I was getting. If I hit maybe 20-30%, that was like amazing. And I'm way higher now with the with the videos and the Google stuff being done, so that we can actually move on in class. And so the majority of the kids are doing it, which is fabulous. And, that's really helped get things grooving a lot better.
We use a lot of Google Forms, a lot of science notebooking in middle school, and sort of maybe a modified Avid interactive science notebook thing with the left side, right side. And so I've been having the kids watch the video and then do some kind of a reflection on the other side of their notes, and then answer some questions at the end. And the reflections almost never get done. They're bad. They're just really bad about not wanting to go and do anything with the information. But they will fill out a Google form. They'll, instead of answering the question in their notes, and it's really good, because that way it's so much easier to check. You don't have to walk through class and collect notebooks and take science, class time, but you can also and you can get the information before you even walk in. So the more Google Forms I can use, the better.
Does anyone else use Schoology or Edmodo? Because that allows me to see when students watch videos that I put on there.
I use Edmodo.
I use Edmodo, but I haven't used it too much in the way you just mentioned. But I do use it with my kids as a communication tool.
I guess I'm actually probably the weird guy here. I did what some of you all did at the beginning of the year. I did the Google Forms after they did the video, and actually had a Google Form whisk thing for them to do. But what I've been doing for probably, I would say, the last 12 to 18 weeks or so is that it's up to them. I've tried to make it, and I've tried to make it very clear to them that this is their deal, this is their learning, and I'm certainly willing to support them in any way that I can, but whether or not they watch the video is up to them. And so if they come to class the next day and they don't know what colligative properties are, like some of them didn't today, then it's the impetus then becomes on them I have to go find that out. And I tell them flat out at the beginning that I don't care if you find it from my videos or someone else's videos, or if you want to Google the information or whatever, that's up to you. And I do standards-based grading too, so that all I care about is your assessment. All I care about is, did you learn the material that you were supposed to learn, and how you got it is up to you. Now, all kinds of flaws, and I may go back to some of the Google Form stuff next year, but I don't check them off. I had a weekly grade basically that was, did you do all your Google Form whisks, and were you participating in class, sort of.
Yeah.
But I've tried to move away from that. I think as I move more towards standards-based grading for me, which to me, and I know there's various ways to define it, but to me it just means I'm not worried about how you work. I'm worried about what the actual output is at the end. And again, varying success. I'm not saying that it's the way to go. There are probably a few things about it that I'll change next year, but I very much want to foster in them that thing that we talk about all the time, which is I want them to take control of it.
Right.
And for them to see their own flaws. Like, hey, I didn't watch videos for a week, and I haven't done well, and I don't know what's going on in class every day. I really ought to get caught up.
Well, I guess that brings
one of
up
the things I want to comment too that's been mentioned in a couple of things. Doug, it even goes back to the lab you were talking about. While Katie and Dan and I talked some about maybe having our classes do some blogging together. So while I was at NSTA, I got two sections of GT Honors Physics kids, and it was right at the end of the 6 weeks, so it was a perfect time. I set them up on Weebly with every student having a blog, and gave them like a 5-minute instruction on how to make a blog post and a few resources. We're working on EM spectrum, and so I gave them some resources about electromagnetic spectrum and astronomy, different topics, and said, go read, find something fascinating, find something you're really excited about, and think out loud, talk in your blog about it. And they looked at me like, well, what do you want, Mr. Strickland? And I said, what I don't want is a book report. I want you to read. I want you to find something exciting and talk to me about it. And that really threw them for a loop. And I guess my point is that as we do the Google Forms or different things, I think we need to mix it up, because what I see is they get accustomed to one type of communication. And then, that's what I was thinking about, Doug, when you were talking about your lab. Then when you introduce a new type of collaboration or communication, it throws them off, and it's not something they're used to. So I think as adults, we take for granted maybe how difficult it is for them to transition through the different types of things we want them to do. So for whatever that's worth, I did not expect these students to have a hard time with blogging, but I was on Edmodo with them constantly for a little while, trying to get them just to. These are the kids, as we keep talking about, that are used to playing school. So they're afraid they're going to do it wrong. And, it would just really mess them up that they could do it any way they wanted to. And I also had a few, after I've had a whole year with them, and they know my expectations, when I said I wasn't going to grade it, I had a few that assumed that also meant they didn't have to do it. And we had to have a little meeting this morning. Say, no, guys, you are going to do what I ask you to do, even if it's not for a grade. So, for whatever it's worth, there's experience I just had right here at the end of the year. So it surprised me.
Yeah. Dan, did you have a question?
I probably forgot what it was right now.
Okay.
Sorry, Dan.
That's all right.
Do all of you guys do self-paced, like the Flip Mastery model?
Not yet. No, nope. I think maybe we all run into this a little bit with labs, the nature of how labs work. I don't think, at least for me, when I'm doing some of my bio labs, like to set up a gel electrophoresis lab, 35 times would be a little, hefty. So there's sort of a controlled, self-pacing to it. Within a unit, I'm a little bit more flexible, but as far as the overall, I know I'm not doing it yet. So.
Yeah, I'd like to go to Mastery eventually, but the lab issue is one with the big equipment. Mm-hmm. Who's doing electricity, who's running tracks, who's doing things like that, getting to the district benchmarks. And then the other thing is we don't have something like Moodle where you have 500 questions to choose from. And once I give out a test, everybody's got the answers. And so it has to be something that would change up for kids regularly so I could have 50 different versions of the test. If it was really going to be when you're ready for the test, I'm going to give it to you, and you can take it until you pass it.
Well, I do something similar. I make up 3 different tests on Google Forms, and they only get 3 chances to get to 80%, then they get whatever their highest grade is.
Oh.
But amazingly, they really work hard to get to that 80% the first time around, because they don't want to have to take it 3 times. And it seems to work well with my Gen Ed kids, or my Gen Chem kids. You know, it seems to motivate them rather than, okay, I get to take it once and I get what I get. You know, and so they seem to like that a little better.
Yeah, we have
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we have a retake option where they go back in and do some more learning and then come back and take a miniature test, and every question they get right adds points onto it, so they can focus on the things that they haven't learned yet. So there is that, but it's not just a complete new test.
Katie, that's sort of the approach I've taken. Actually, this group of kids I have, they're really been helpful. That policy evolved during this semester as we've looked at the problems with my class. So that's worked well for me also.
Do you think you have to be one-to-one to do self-paced? Do you think it's possible to do self-paced with just most of the kids bringing your own device or bringing their own devices?
I have done it that way. The school I'm one-to-one now. I mean, I'm in tech heaven now, but last year when I started flipping, I was at a low soci school, and I had a department iPad, and I had my own iPad, and my kids had their phones, and that's pretty much what we did everything with. And we actually did a decent job self-paced. I think much like sort of what Lindsay was saying, it's not a full-on self-paced like I've got kids that are 3 units ahead, but within a unit or 2 range they're self-paced, so I can have kids that are done with 1 unit working on the next one while there's still some kids that are struggling a little bit with the previous units. But I mean, obviously it's one of those things that I think one-to-one speeds up and helps, but it's doable either way. I think I'm going tomorrow to present flip class to some administrators, and the first thing is always, how do you of course it's easy for you, you're at a one-to-one iPad school, but that's not where I started. That's where I am now, but it's doable without those things. But
I've burnt DVDs already for kids. I've done it that way. Thumb drives. I kind of tell them off from the get-go, whatever you need for access, and kind of equate it to back in the day for us, I mean, if we didn't say, hey, I don't have an, encyclopedia set at my house, I can't go do my research, so, how did we figure out how to make that happen? And so I think if you can open it up and make sure that there is a number of different ways that the students can access what you're hoping to, then I think you can make it work, and make it work pretty well.
And make it very clear from the outset. I know this year I didn't do this. I did a little last year, but make it very clear from the beginning so that parents and students all know that there are multiple ways to get this. You don't have to have this device to get it. I will give you the DVDs. I will give you the jump drives. I will arrange time at school for you to get on a school computer if that's what's necessary. So the technology is not an excuse to not do the work.
Guys, I got to break in. It's been great seeing all of the faces. I've got to take off for this evening. So
I know.
Y'all continue, and hey, hopefully we're going to have one of these things again.
We will.
I think we will, and make it work a little better.
We'll put someone better than me in charge.
It's been good now. Yeah, no. You've been
guys
doing
have
great.
A great evening.
Yeah.
No,
Bye,
I think it went really well. I mean, especially considering that we all weren't on each other's circles to begin with. So,
I know.
Yeah,
you all were on mine. I had you ready to go. It serves me right for planning ahead. But that'll teach me next time. So.
Well, does anyone have any last-minute comments that they want to wrap up with, or something that they want to throw out there before we head out?
I need all of you high school teachers to get some middle school teachers to join me.
I've had some that have expressed some interest, one in particular who's the parent of one of my students, and so he's one of our 8th grade science teachers in our district, and he's definitely got his ears perked for it. So I think it's the potential's there to start spreading the love a little bit. So.
Drag them in. Drag them in.
Stacy, I was 8th grade physical science last year, but I left and went to the high school.
See, I know so many people like you. I don't know. So I'm still in my hormonally challenged years here.
Stacy, I just threw up on the chat there a teacher in our district. I guess a bad choice of words, but Kenny King is a teacher in our district that's doing some good things in the middle school. So if you can follow him on Twitter,
I definitely will.
At KV Teach King.
Yep, I see that. I will go follow that right away.
Awesome.
So good. It was good to see everybody's actual faces.
Yeah.
I definitely want to thank everybody. I'm running a meeting at my school next Wednesday. I put myself out there. Anyone interested in flipping their class or learning about it? I really don't think anyone else in my school is doing it. So I'll see how that goes over.
I'm alone.
Yeah, I'm a lone flyer too. So yeah.
My principal asked me to talk to the staff to see if anybody else wants to flip and join a group to go to virtual FlipCon, and he's slated me for after the Colonial Life Insurance guy.
There you go.
Yeah, good lead.
I was just interviewed by our school newspaper, so we'll see if any of the teachers get a hold of that and see what comes up from it.
Yeah, I did present to the faculty. They want me to do a PD day coming up in May, where we get a day to go, and then any of the teachers during their prep period can come down and learn in that period. So I would maybe do up to 4 little mini workshops. So that's definitely been out there. So it's starting. So one of my math teachers, when I sent out the thing about tonight, one of the math teachers at my school actually watched the math flip.
Okay.
So I'm psyched. I'm glad people are starting to get more out of it. So
that's good.
Great.
We started out with 5 teachers last year, and now there's over 40 at our school.
Wow.
Wow.
So it is contagious.
Awesome. Have you found any, this is the bio lady in me talking, competition for niche, basically as far as how the flipping works, or is everybody, basically existing well in the different disciplines with it? The kids aren't overwhelmed?
Some it works better than others. Some had it a little bit easier. Biology has had a bit of a struggle flipping.
Really? Huh.
And then math, it was the ones that flipped, got it right away. Physics was good. Chemistry good. We have some government guys trying to flip government, and a couple English teachers trying to do that. So it's a little bit tougher where it's not mostly math based, I think, for some folks.
Cool. All right. Well, good for you guys. That's great. So, all right. Well.
All right. Till next week, everybody.
Yeah,
indeed.
Thanks for putting this together.
Great. Thank you all, Glenn. Thank you so much for grabbing the lead on this. I appreciate big time.
No problem.
So, all right, awesome.
Make sure everyone shares their Twitter handles.
Yeah, we'll do. And Glenn, if you could maybe share me the file, I can get it posted on the Learning Journal for everybody. So, of the video, that would be great.
I'll
Thank
send it to you tomorrow. Thanks.
Fab. All right.
Have a good day.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.